Hello and welcome back to the Orlando Adventures podcast. I'm your host, Russ, and today's episode is the Can You Do Orlando in a Week one? So it's probably a question on a lot of people's minds. It's probably one of those questions that's kind of burning a lot of people, and they're thinking, I want to get out to Orlando. I want to get out to Orlando more frequently. I want to get out there more often. Well, how can I do it? Because I know that we've had this conversation when I've done episodes such as like the budgeting ones, where, I've certainly said if it were a choice between doing multiple trips or doing one trip, I would rather do the multiple because it means I get to go out there more often. I get that feeling of things like a countdown of a travel day, all of that kind of stuff more frequently. I get that more often. I'm going to get that feeling of, especially the countdown, I think is significant. And with that in mind, can we do Orlando in a week? And the reason why I'm doing this episode now is because obviously the landscape of Orlando and going to Orlando and doing the theme parks in Orlando has changed, or it is about to change very, very soon. So there is the small matter, and I don't know if anyone's heard of it, of Epic Universe. So Epic Universe opens on the 22nd of May. Depending when you're listening to this, it is either going to be open very soon or it's already open. You might have already been there. You might have already done pass holder previews. You might have already done like media events and stuff like that. But ultimately, there is the question, now that there are officially 7 main parks, if we're talking about Disney and Universal, can we do all of Disney and all of Universal in 1 week? So obviously, I'm going to get into it. I think it's a difficult one. It is a difficult one because I know that some people are going to lean to doing just a Disney trip. Some people are going to lean to just doing a Universal trip. This is certainly not a budget-friendly trip. And the reason why is because unless you're an annual pass holder, at which point this does become a budget-friendly trip, you are going to end up buying essentially either a 7-day pass for Disney or individual tickets for Universal, whatever way you do it. And it is going to cost quite a lot in park tickets. Obviously, if you're an annual pass holder, this is going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot cheaper. It's going to be, you're going to spread the cost across multiple trips is in theory the idea. So is it possible? Is it possible? Well, it's difficult to say because obviously I haven't done Epic Universe, Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure, Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Epcot, and Hollywood Studios in the space of 7 days as of yet. I haven't done it. So it is difficult for me to comment. However, obviously the last time I went, I was there for 6 full days. Well, I did all of the parks, obviously minus Epic Universe, which wasn't open at the time. And I firmly believe that it can be done. So that's the first thing. That's my first take. I think it is doable. Do I think that you're going to get the most out of it? Is it enjoyable? That's probably the second question. Is it an enjoyable experience going to Orlando to do all of these parks in the space of 7 days? Well, it depends where your enjoyment lies, doesn't it? Does your enjoyment lie in the thought of going to Orlando, doing parks, having a bit of a rest, enjoying Orlando, going around doing different beaches, different activities, all that kind of stuff as well? Is that where the enjoyment lies for you? Or does the enjoyment lie in just going on rides, going to theme parks and getting immersed in the Disney bubble and the Universal bubble? That's probably the question you need to ask. Like, if you're looking for the relaxing trip, the 1 week trip is probably not for you. I think that is the reality. That is the reality of it. But at the same time, if you want to get your quick fix, if you want to go out for certain events, say you want to go out for Mardi Gras, say you want to go out for Halloween Horror Nights, or you want to go out for Christmas, if you want to go and see one of these seasons, then it might be a thought on your mind of going for only a week, because you're probably thinking, well, we want to get out there. We're going to go and do, Mickey's Not So Scary. We're going to do HHN. We're going to go and do a few parks. So a 1 week trip is a bit more of a kind of a thought process, isn't it? But if I'm talking about this scenario of going out there and you're just going to do the 7 parks, I say just, if you're going to go out and do the 7 parks, is it realistic? Is it realistic? Is it enjoyable? Now I can look at this from my point of view. I think that the idea of it is enjoyable. I think that the idea for me of cramming it all in, doing as much as possible, kind of going back to back to back to back to back to back to back, it is an enjoyable experience for me. I like it. I like doing that. I enjoy my Orlando trips to be busy. I enjoy my Orlando trips to be fast paced. I like to have a lot going on. And so that's kind of probably where I stand on it. Will you have a fun and immersive experience is probably the kind of the third thing. So is it gonna be fun and immersive? Well, it's definitely gonna be fun. There is literally no doubt. There is no doubt whatsoever. You go to Orlando, you're gonna have fun. If you go out to Orlando, you go to any of these theme parks, you're gonna have a fabulous time. Like, genuinely, I think that you could go out there for 7 days, you could do the same park for 7 days, and you'd have an unbelievable trip. I genuinely think that. But I also think that if you're going out there to do all of these different parks, it will be fun. There are a couple of caveats to it, absolutely. So the caveats are, and obviously I did find this, that when you do a quick trip, there is a pressure. There's a pressure to get things done. And if you really, really want to get stuff done, for example, for myself, when we did the Universal Day, I really wanted to get Hagrid's done, Velocicoaster done, Doctor Doom done, and then everything else was kind of like, I'm up for it if we get the opportunity. Well, I didn't get to do Velocicoaster because it closed while I was in the queue for Hagrid's. So that's the negative. If a ride goes down, you might only get one shot. You might only get one shot because you're only going to go there for 1 day potentially to go and do that ride. So you've got to bear that in mind. That's where the fun aspect could go. But at the same time, there's another aspect, which is the weather. So it depends what time of year you go. Obviously, if you go during the hurricane season, you're out there for 7 days and you're banking on getting all of the rides done, and it absolutely pays it down with rain for 7 days solid, and things like Velocicoaster or things like Hagrid's, or, you know, I'm trying to think of other stuff off the top of my head, Everest, for example. If stuff like that doesn't end up being open and those were the priorities for you, then that's going to be a little bit difficult to swallow. That's going to be a tough pill to take, because at the same time, like, if you are desperate that you've got your non-negotiables and you literally can't do them, then it is going to put a dampener on the trip. Obviously, the longer the trip you do, the more chances you're going to have of being able to do kind of like all of the different rides and different parks. But at the same time, because whenever I've planned out like a 2-week trip, I always have it so that you've got days that can swap around. So I'll always have it so if there is a rainy day, you can basically kind of insert that day somewhere else, and you can swap some around so that you go to a park and do different activities, for example. Off the back of that, immersive experience. So if we're talking about immersive experiences, you want to make sure that you're basically you're in the magic. You're actually taking it in. You're not literally just kind of running into Magic Kingdom, going on one ride, going on another ride, going on another ride, get some food, and then you're out there. Do you know what I mean? You actually want to take a little bit of time to watch a show, watch the parade, go and actually sit down somewhere, go and do a bit of people watching, go and get the different snacks, go on all the different rides that you want to go on. Like there's a lot of things. Go and watch the fireworks shows. Obviously, you know, the list goes on. So are you going to get an immersive experience in the space of 7 days? Yes, I believe that you will get a fully immersive experience. However, it will lead me on to my next point. If you want to get a fully immersive experience, you are going to need to be in that park or those parks for the longest amount of time possible, in my opinion. So for me, if you're doing a 7-day trip and you've got 4 Disney parks, 3 Universal parks, things like rest days obviously are not possible. They're not possible. It's not feasible. You need to be on it. You need to be early park access until park close, in my opinion, if you want to get the most out of it. So if you're going to Magic Kingdom, I would say you want to be getting there for early access, and that way you can get in one of your non-negotiable rides straight away. So say you want to get on Tron straight away, you can go and kind of get that ticked off without having to do mega queues for it or anything like that. And then once you've kind of ticked off a few non-negotiables at the beginning of the day, that's when your immersive kind of experiences are going to start to kind of come in. That's when you can slow down the pace a little bit. You can enjoy the park. You can just kind of spend the time in the park and taking it all in. So I think that early access is going to be really important. And to be fair, I'm not saying that you need to be at every park till park close every single day. Like, not at all. But if there are things in there, and I'll get to it with regards to non-negotiables, then you are going to potentially need to kind of like go all out on that day. For example, if I was going to say that I'm going to do this trip and I wanted to do, for example, Hagrid's and Velocicoaster at night at Islands of Adventure, and I've got one Islands of Adventure day allocated into my kind of schedule, into my plan, then the chances are, if I'm going to commit one day to IOA, I'm going to early access it because I still want to do Velocicoaster and Hagrid's in the daytime. But I am then going to go and do the rest of the park kind of throughout the day. And obviously, as the day kind of winds in, it gets darker and stuff like that. That's when I'm going to want to go and do my other non-negotiable of those rides in the dark as well. So for me, it's just a bit of planning. It's a bit of planning with regards to kind of like what it is you want to get out of your experience. And it kind of goes back to that, the fun and immersive kind of argument. What do you want to get out of it? And if we're talking about a plan, I think realistically, you need to plan out if you're going to do things like dining reservations. I think if you've got any kind of like snacks and meals that you want to going to get into your day, you're going to have planned them. Like if you're going to Magic Kingdom and you want to make sure you get those spring rolls in, I would plan them in. I would say that you want to just plan all of those non-negotiables, because if you try and wing it, I feel like you're not going to get the most out of it. I'm not saying this needs to be like a super regimented trip, but I am saying that you want a structure. If you don't have the structure, then I feel like you're just going to end up missing out on stuff. I feel like you're going to end up not managing to get all of the stuff that you want to get done kind of in there. So the other thing that we've got to think about is other activities. So if we're talking about other activities like SeaWorld, Busch Gardens, Kennedy Space Center, mini golf, I don't know, Top Golf, airboat rides, dinners out, are you going to get these in? I'm going to say no. I don't think it's possible. I think that if you're going to try and cram in 7 days of parks back to back to back, you're not going to get those kind of things in as well. You're certainly not going to get SeaWorld and Busch Gardens in there. Kennedy's too far away. Like, to be fair, mini golf, I feel like on an Animal Kingdom day or maybe a Universal Studios day, you might get more time, because I feel like chances are you're probably going to finish those park days slightly earlier. Even if it's like 4 or 5 o'clock, you've got the time in the evening to go and do these activities. You've got the time to be able to go and do a bit of mini golf, Top Golf, or especially dinners out. Like dinners out, I feel like you can absolutely do. I feel like obviously if there's non-negotiables such as going and seeing like the fireworks, if you want to go and ride rides at night, or you want to experience the parks at night, then obviously you're not going to be able to go and do those dinners kind of like off-site in those days. But at the same time, you can plan them in, because there might be opportunities on some park days when you can dip out and then go to, an Olive Garden, a Cheesecake Factory, or whatever it may be. So I feel like that is certainly something to kind of bear in mind. I feel like it is certainly doable. Again, it just needs a plan. The other thing, like, where do you need to be staying? Where do you realistically need to be for this to be possible? And the other thing is, will you need a car? I don't think you need a car. I think I will say that, and I know that obviously I'm completely biased to having a car. I feel like having a car adds to the experience. It makes the experience, for me, it makes the experience easier, and I enjoy the car as an aspect of the trip. But do you need it? I mean, for your 4 Disney days, you can use the transport on site without an absolute doubt if you were staying on site. If you're staying off site, you're going to need a car. I just don't see how it's possible to go and do these 7 parks without either spending a huge amount on Ubers and Lyfts and stuff like that, or without just kind of an absolute faff. I think that if you're off site, you need to be fairly close. So you need to be either in close proximity to Disney, or you need to be in close proximity to Universal. You need to be close enough to one of them. or somewhere in the middle. The thing is, I certainly don't think that this is as feasible if you're staying a bit further away. If you've got a bit of a drive every day, if you've got like a 45 to an hour drive, I feel like this is going to become a struggle, because you're going to be getting up so early and you're going to be getting back so late every day that it's just like the enjoyment factor for me, I think, goes. So I think that ideally, I would say that you probably need to be on site. I would say that having a car for me is always a win. I think that it's always going to make a trip easier, in my opinion. But also, I do appreciate that it comes at a cost. Obviously, I've done the episodes where we can, talk about budgeting and stuff like that. That it might be cost effective to have the car, it might not. Whatever works for you is not a problem. But yeah, in terms of where you need to stay, I think that personally, I would say that staying on site is going to be the easiest way to do it. I certainly think that you're going to get the most out of the experience. I certainly think that you're going to be able to get the most out of being in the bubble by staying in the bubble itself. Kind of other things like, can you fit in your Target and your Walmart trip as well? Like we all know that we love the Target and the Walmart trip. Can you fit that in there? I mean, yeah, of course you can. It's a little bit like the kind of going off site for dinners and stuff like that. Like you will get the time, you will get the opportunity to go and do this, but you're gonna have to have planned it in. Like it's certainly not gonna be able to wing it. You're gonna need to know when they're open and stuff like that. Like, yeah, you might be able to go and do a late night trip as well. But again, I just think it is doable. And again, if it's a non-negotiable for you, you'll figure it out and you'll get it done. But like, it's gonna be busy, and this is the point. Like, so I'm basically saying that I think this is very doable, and I'll kind of give you my view on it. So where do I stand on it? I think this is doable. I think that this is a hugely busy trip. I feel like this is going to be a really intense trip. I feel like you're gonna have that feeling of needing a holiday when you get back, because you're gonna get so much done. Are you gonna get everything done in this trip? No. Like literally no. I think that you need to have an expectation. Your expectation needs to be that out of your non-negotiables, you're probably going to get 90% of them done. I think that's probably fair to say. There are going to be a couple of things that you're not going to be able to get done. A couple of rides might go down while you're on them, or a couple of rides might go down while you're in the park, and you might just not get the opportunity to do them. But I think that you've just got to go into it with an open mind. You've got to go into it with this thought process of, I'm here to just enjoy the experience while I'm here. Like, am I going to get everything done? No, I'm not. That's what the longer trips are realistically for, because they give you that much more flexibility. Obviously, with something like Epic Universe as well, we haven't really got into that. Like, if you're going to have that one-day ticket to Epic Universe, you are going to need to bear in mind with the fact that that park is going to be exceptionally busy. It's going to be exceptionally busy for at least the first, year of it being open. And the same kind of applies for things like Magic Kingdom. You're going to need to plan these things with regards to like the weekends as well, because the weekends are going to be busier. So you want to pick a couple of parks on the weekend that are quieter parks, for example. So do I think it's doable? Yes, absolutely. Like categorically. I will say that if you are thinking of trying to do this, if possible, and it's not always possible, try and get the early flight. So if there is an early flight option from wherever you're flying from, wherever you're flying to, and whoever you're flying with, you basically want to try and get the earliest flight if there is one. The same applies for when you go back. You want to try and get the latest one as well, because you're going to want to try and make the most out of that final day. If you want to try and get all of these activities in, you're going to have to utilize your travel home day as a day in the parks as well, which is fine. There's plenty of people do it. I personally, I've never done a park on a travel home day, I'll be honest. But at the same time, I see it. I see that if you've got a late enough flight, so for example, if you're flying out of Tampa and your flight is potentially at like 10 in the evening, then there is a possibility that you could go and do a park, I don't know, like a Universal Studios on your final day, finish there at maybe 4 o'clock, and then quite leisurely get yourself over to the airport, for example. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I'm thinking you've just got to maximize the time that you've got. You've got to maximize the opportunities that you've got in front of you. And if you can kind of stack the deck your way, then absolutely do it. Obviously, if times of flights get changed or flights get delayed or anything like that, like you can't do anything about that. That is what it is. Like, there's not a lot you can do about it. But at the same time, I know that there is going to be a pressure. There's going to be a pressure to make sure you get all of these done. Obviously, with regards to my thoughts on it, I think you've got to plan it. I think you've got to have this all planned out. I think you've got to have this kind of wrapped up before you go, knowing exactly what parks you're going to do on which day, which parks you can swap around if there's a weather delay days, for example. I say that with Islands of Adventure in mind, especially because if it rains, that park essentially goes down. There's not loads of stuff you can go and do. And if there is stuff, like obviously it all gets very busy because everyone congregates to things like Spider-Man, for example. So I think that's just something to bear in mind a little bit. I think that you basically need to go into this with a plan. You need to go into this knowing which parks you're going to do which day, which rides are your non-negotiables, which foods, dinners, dine-ins are all your non-negotiables as well. And if you've got additional activities, such as getting your Walmart trip or your Target trip or, I don't know, Top Golf or mini golf in there as well, then you've just got to have planned it. And you've got to have planned it around, you know, whatever days you're not in parks, you're going to do stuff in the evenings. I suppose the final point to kind of get into a little bit is, what is the benefit? What is actually the benefit of doing this trip? Because it's clearly a fairly stressful trip. It's a very quick trip. The time's going to go very, very fast. You're going to have that feeling of like, your body clock is going to adjust to Orlando by about day 4, and then before you know it, you're getting back on the plane to go home. So you're going to have that kind of like jet lag feeling when you get home very, very quickly. And some people might look at it and be like, that's just not worth it. It's not worth it for me. That's, again, it's each to their own. But what are the benefits? Well, the benefits are obviously that you're going to get to go to more Orlando, in theory, more often. I'm saying that if you basically had the plan of going for 2 to 3 weeks, or you could do a couple of 1-week trips, like, I would still pick the 1-week trips. I'd still pick them because I still feel that you can get them done. I'm not saying that if you go out for 7 days, you have to do 7 parks, but I'm just, for the argument of this episode, I'm saying, is it possible? I think it is. Categorically, I think it is. I think you just need to plan. The other benefits of doing this 1-week trip is it's just getting your fix, isn't it? It's getting your fix. And like I said at the kind of the beginning of the episode, a 7-day trip might work really, really well if you're trying to go for certain seasons, or if you're trying to just go out there for certain events and milestones and stuff like that. Like, if obviously, if you do want to go out for HHM, but you're like, well, we already went in May, for example, like, is it going to be possible? We can't really fit another 2-week trip. We don't have the holiday from work, for example. It's going to cost too much for the accommodation for that amount of time. But the main thing is, I think that it just gives you this chance. It gives you this opportunity to get back out there, go and do the stuff you love, and just kind of rattle it all out. Like, if you're fortunate enough that you go to these parks fairly frequently, then you don't have to go and do everything. You're certainly not going to have that feeling of having to go and do everything. So you're going to feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident that basically you're happy to go into a park and just go and do maybe 4 or 5 rides, and you're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to feel confident that you've got all of the things that you wanted to get done kind of done. And also there's a bit less pressure, because also if you, for example, if you go to Hollywood Studios and one of your non-negotiables is Rise of Resistance, but Rise is a 2-hour queue, and you're like, actually, I don't mind because I've been on this quite a few times before. So the stress from that kind of regard goes a little bit if you are lucky enough to be able to go more frequently. The other thing I like from I've got to address it from a content creator point of view. Like, there is this huge benefit. There's this huge benefit if you are wanting to create content for Instagram, for podcasts, for YouTube, then you may feel that you want to be out in Orlando more often. I think that is a reality. That is, I think it's very obvious. Like, the more you're out in Orlando, the more you're kind of like getting content out there, the more that people are seeing you. Like, whether or not you're bothered about content creation is a question, but I think that for some people it really is. Some people it really is. From a content creation point of view, for me, like, obviously I want to be out there as much as possible, but I also want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy my experiences. I want to enjoy the experiences with the people I go out there with. That is always going to be the priority. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, obviously, if I can get more vlogs up there for you guys to see and for me to enjoy editing, like, I'm going to do it. I absolutely am. So, you know, if there were an opportunity for me to do this 7-day trip, you know, I'd be all over it. You absolutely know it, because given half a chance, given a sniff, I would be out there. I would be out there doing 7 parks, 7 days. I'm talking, try and get a Cheesecake Factory in there, try and get an Olive Garden in there. You know, you got to get your Walmart trip. And that's the way that I look at it. I think it's possible. I think it's doable. And if you want to get Epic Universe in there, then I think that doing a little 7-day trip might be a really, really good way to do it. Obviously, with the hype of Epic Universe being as high as it is at the moment. So I hope you've enjoyed this one. I hope you have. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, the main thing that I keep coming back to in this episode, that yes, this is doable. Yes, I think it's enjoyable. Yes, I think that you can have an immersive experience, but you really do need to plan it. If you're not a planner, if you're not keen on planning, this is not the trip for you. This is not going to be the trip that you want it to be, because you're not going to be relaxed. You're not going to be having that time to kind of like unwind and spend time, like maybe in the hotel or resort hopping, or, you know, doing all of these other activities, because I think that you're just not going to find the time to do them alongside all of the theme parks. So I hope you've enjoyed this one as much as I've enjoyed recording it, as ever. And I just want to say I appreciate you all. Genuinely, like, I just want to say thank you to everyone, every single person. If you ever share an episode, if you ever listen to an episode, you know, if you ever like one, if you ever tell anyone else about an episode or anything like that, like, it means the absolute world. And, you know, if you ever share it on Instagram, you know that I'll always share it back. I always will. It's one of my favorite things. I love seeing when people are listening to episodes. It's always fun seeing what people are doing. It's fun seeing that people are going out on walks, or you're on a commute somewhere, or you're just like kind of traveling somewhere, or you're doing jobs around the house, or you might even be in Orlando, or it might be that you've kind of downloaded some episodes for the plane or for your travel day, or whatever it may be. I love to see it. It's absolutely amazing. You're all the best, and this community is the best in the world. So thank you all so much for listening. And I will see you all in the next one.